Hi everyone. So this is a demo for Docker container monitoring using sysdig and csysdig. So for this particular demo, I'm going to use this basically use case here. So here I have two networks, a front-end network and a back-end network. And in the front-end network, I have the Ubuntu container and the HA proxy container. And on the backend container, I have three Nginx containers. So the application here is HA proxy load balancing to the three Nginx containers. And these are the set of commands that needs to be used for this. So I've already set up the containers currently. So if I look at the containers that are currently running, I can see the Ubuntu HA proxy and the three Nginx containers. And if we do network inspect, first let's look at what are the networks existing. So we can see the front end and the back end network. And if we inspect the front end network, so here we have the Ubuntu container and we have an HA proxy here. And if we inspect the backend network, so we have Nginx 2, 3, and 1 here, and we have a HA proxy here. The first thing we'll do is use the sysdig, and then we'll try to use the csysdig for monitoring. So to start the sysdig, this is the command that I use to start the sysdig as a container. First, I need to remove the pre-existing containers. So basically, this is starting up the sysdig container. So for sysdig to run, it needs some kernel modules to be loaded in the host system, and that is what we are seeing here. So this is automatically done as part of the the container start itself. So now we are inside the sysdig container. Now if we look at what are the containers running, so we should see that sysdig is running. So I've started my other application containers also. So now we can see sysdig running as well as my other application containers running. For this particular example, what I will do is I will generate a bunch of curl requests from my Ubuntu container, and we'll see how the container monitoring can be done while we are doing this. Sysdig has this concept called chisel, which is nothing but a script to do some pre-existing functionality. For example, so here I am trying to run a sysdig chisel top proc CPU, which is going to show the top processes consuming the CPU. So this processes includes the processes running the host machine as well as in the container. The PC flag here is necessary to show container specific information. So once we started, so we see all these processes that are running, and this host PID shows the process ID in the host machine, and this column here shows the process ID inside the container itself. So now here, if we see, these are all on the host machines, and once in a while, based on the top CPU usage, we see the HA proxy container. Now, if we, do the continuous curl request, so this is going to, send the request from the Ubuntu container to the HA proxy container, and this is going to do in a loop of 100 times. So while this is running, so we can see at this different instances, we can see different containers coming in. So let me run this for a little longer time. So now we can see even the Nginx containers shows up here because the request is continuously being directed. So this is another useful chisel, which is basically shows the top processes using the network connections. So let's start that, and then we'll execute this script here, so which is continuously going to do the curl connections. And so now we can see all these different connections that has been established here. This is another useful one which shows the network connections. So this shows both at the host machine as well as the container level. So if we start this, we can see the different connections happening from across the containers. Sysdig provides useful information even at the file I/O level. So this particular chisel shows that the top processes using the file I/O, and so currently we see only the host machines. And as soon as we start this, we can see the my Ubuntu container using file I/O. Another useful thing is to see the spy user's chisel, which will show what are the commands being executed at the container level. For example, now we are monitoring all the commands, and I do a PS here. It's going to show up. This is the command that is executed. So basically, it's going to monitor all the containers, and it's going to show the commands here. If you've used Wireshark before, you would have seen this nice capability of taking the dump into a PCAP file and monitoring later, and sysdig provides a similar capability. So here, basically what we'll do is we'll basically capture all the events to a file. So this is basically is going to capture all the events to this file. All the system calls are going to be captured in this file. So let's start that. And while it is running, what we will do is we will execute one curl call that we are doing. Okay, so this is done. So now we'll stop this, and now we'll monitor. We'll kind of parse this file and see what it is doing. So this can be used for debugging the problem later. So here, so basically, I am reading this file that I captured, and I'm doing an echo FD. Basically, it's going to show all the file operations that are happening for this HA proxy container. So if I do that, so here I can see that all the requests that are going. So this is the first request from my Ubuntu to HA proxy container, and then this is to read the index HTML file, and this is the request that goes from HA proxy to the Nginx, and here the file is being retrieved, and finally the file is being sent to the Ubuntu container. So it gives quite a bit of detail in terms of understanding what is happening between the containers. Okay, the last thing we'll cover here is the csysdig. Csysdig is like a cursor-based interface, kind of for it's kind of like a text-based GUI for doing all the things that we have done in sysdig, but with like kind of a a user interface that is very simple to use. It is like the top interface or htop interface that you are typically used. So here I've started the csysdig. So I have different views to see. The default view is the processes view here, and we can still see the PID, which is the host PID, as well as the container PID. We can see the containers running here. So we can do different sorting here. For example, I can sort by container. I can use that. So what we will do is first we'll look at the container view here itself. So in the container view, we can see all the containers that are running. So let's pick one of our containers, and we can press enter, and we can see the processes that are running inside the container itself. So Nginx container. So this is basically the two processes that are running inside the Nginx container, and we can even see one is the master process and one is the worker process. The two useful things I have found here inside the csysdig is this echo option and the dig option. For example, if I am inside the HA proxy and I want to look at all the system calls that are happening, so I can just do that F6 and it shows all the system calls that are happening from the HA proxy container. And let me do the same thing. Now I can do F5 to see all the file operations that are happening on HA proxy. So here now it's going to monitor all the file operations. Now we can do something similar what we did earlier, where we did one curl request, and now I can see all operations that related to HA proxy in terms of the same process from Ubuntu to HA proxy to Nginx, and how the index.html is sent back to the the Ubuntu container. So if we look at the views tab here inside the csysdig, it has a lot more other interesting capabilities. We can look at the file-based output. We can even look at Kubernetes-based construct output. We can look at errors, the file descriptor usage, sockets, the spy thing that we checked in the sysdig, as well as all the system calls and thread level monitoring. So this is kind of pretty useful for debugging. Thanks for watching.